Hey everyone, it's me again and welcome to Faith's Feels. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my little corner of the internet. My name's Faith Grenade and I put makeup and skincare videos here on YouTube. And you should subscribe and hit that little bell icon down below. It'll notify you every time I upload so you don't miss a minute of this exciting, riveting action. We got an interesting one for you today. What you've stumbled across is Faith's Feels, which is usually where I share my feels or my review of a makeup product, or I talk about things that are just on my mind. And it is Skincare Sunday. As a lot of you already know, but if you're new here, hi, I'm in esthetician school. I graduate 3 weeks from tomorrow. And estheticians, if you don't know what they are, I have a whole video devoted to talking about what an esthetician does, but estheticians also do waxing, and that's the unit that I've been finishing up in schooling right through here. And when we learn waxing, the easiest way to learn waxing is by doing it. And so we practice on each other. I mean, that's really what you do before you open up to the public, is you practice on your fellow students. So I have had pretty much my entire body waxed. I've had my legs, my armpits, my arms, my eyebrows, my upper lip, and a full Brazilian. I figured I would make an entire video devoted to waxing and devoted to answering some common questions I get about waxing. More specifically, how much does all this hurt? I'm gonna go down the line of all of the things I've had done, and I'm gonna talk about how much it hurt, how long it took, and you know, how the grow back has been, because that's an important question to answer too. So we've got a lot of body parts to get through, so let's just get right into it. Before this point, I had little to no experience with waxing. Before being in esthetician school, I'd had my eyebrows waxed one time, and that's it. That was the only experience I had. A quick disclaimer about this. 1, my pain tolerance is moderate to high. I can handle a decent amount of pain. So what doesn't hurt for me might hurt more for you. It all depends on the individual. Number 2, I'm going to rate all of these pain scales on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, this didn't hurt at all, it's a walk in the park, it almost felt good. 10 being, I can't handle this, I'm going to pass out, somebody take me to a hospital, I am actually dying. 3, before most of my waxing sessions, I did take at least 1 painkiller, because that's what we recommend as estheticians. If you know that you have a slightly lower pain tolerance, or you know that you're prone to turn red, we recommend that you take either 2 ibuprofen or 1 Advil prior to waxing. So I did that just to keep things consistent throughout the process. I did take some kind of painkiller before each waxing session. So take all of that into account when I'm giving these. The first thing I had waxed was my legs. Going into the first body part, which was legs, I thought it was gonna hurt like hell. I really thoroughly expected a shitload of pain. But legs wasn't bad at all. I mean, with the Advil that I had taken, I took 1 Advil prior to the leg wax, and it honestly was not that bad. At its worst, I would put it at about a 3 out of 10, which, I mean, for me, a 3 out of 10 is sort of the equivalent of, I don't know, bumping into something. The worst, I'll kind of show you on part of my leg here, the worst parts of my leg were kind of right back here. Anything that was kind of around the Achilles tendon and sort of at the base of the calf and around the ankle sort of smarted quite a bit. But it was a 3 out of 10 at the absolute worst. And honestly, this pain goes away so quickly. Before you can even say the word ouch, it's gone. It pulls, it smarts, and then it's over. And other than that kind of ankle area, everything else didn't really hurt at all. It kind of, I mean, it was weird feeling like you're tearing hair out, and I had a decent amount of hair to rip out. I hadn't shaved my legs in about like 6 months, I think. So I had a good amount of hair, and it all came out very easily. I didn't really have any problems with pain. I never once thought about stopping the process because it really did not hurt that badly. And right now, I got my legs waxed, I think about 2 weeks ago. And you guys aren't going to be able to see the hair growth because my hair is blonde, but the hair that's growing back is much more sparse, for one, and it's also a lot more vellus. It's a lot thinner. So I had no stubble. So far, it's been really, really cool, and I would happily get my legs waxed again because that didn't hurt much at all, and I can already, after the first session, see a reduction in hair growth, which is awesome. Next after legs was armpits, and I thought the armpits were gonna hurt like hell because it's your armpit, but I don't really have a whole lot of hair under my arms to begin with. This, of course, is after waxing. This is like a solid 2 weeks after the fact, but my hair usually only grows in a little patch about that big. We use hard wax for under the arms. Hard wax you can use on its own. It doesn't require strips. You just pull it off on its own. It can be used over the same area multiple times because it doesn't take any layers of skin off. Soft wax takes off the epidermis, so you can only use it in one area at a time. Hard wax doesn't. It just grips the hair and removes the hair only. So you can use it multiple times in the same area, and it's, you know, just a little bit easier to do with small areas like this. So this particular area, it honestly really didn't hurt that much. It was a little bit worse than legs. I would put it at about a 3.5 out of 10. But the cool part about the underarms was you basically did 2 strips on either armpit, one going in one direction, one going in the other direction, because armpit hair can grow in all kinds of different ways. So it was only 2 strips on each location, and then we were done. And it was like, oh, okay. So yes, you know, the pulls themselves were a little bit more painful, but it's over before you know it. And it's just like, oh, that's fine. Now, again, I don't have a whole lot of armpit hair to begin with, and my armpit hair is, again, blonde, so it's going to be harder to see, but you did get a little bit of grow back here. I didn't run into any itching or anything like that. I did bleed a small bit when I got waxed here, but that's pretty common because the skin's very thin and there's quite a few blood vessels under here. It wasn't like gushing blood, but it was like little beads of blood left behind. That's completely normal. I didn't really bruise at all. I didn't get any skin lifting, which is basically where you wax your skin off, which is what happens when you don't let your hair grow out enough. But this is about 2 weeks out again, and you can see there's hardly anything growing back, really. There is a little bit as I look close up. There's a few hairs, but they're a lot thinner in texture. Again, they're a lot lighter in color. They're a lot more vellus, so it almost looks like I have no hair under my arms at all. And this is 2 weeks later, guys. 2 weeks later. So, again, really not that bad, about a 3.5 out of 10 at the worst. It's over in minutes, and I would happily do that again. All right, next is arms. Arms were more awkward than anything because the arm is kind of like very curvy and there's a lot of curves and twists and turns on your arms, so they can be a little bit more difficult to wax because you've got to be careful how you place the strips and how the hair grows and all that good stuff. All in all, again, I would put the arms at about a 3.5 out of 10 at the worst. It was a little bit more uncomfortable than the legs just because my arms are not used to that kind of sensation. I had never shaved my arms. I'd never done anything to remove the hair on my arms, so it was just a little bit new for them, and it did smart a bit in some spots. I would say the worst spots were probably like back here because the skin back here is very thin, so kind of, it's sort of like your shin really. So back here probably was what hurt the most. But other than that, it was pretty okay. Like, I wouldn't really do it again because, again, the hair on my arms is so thin and so blonde, I really don't worry about it. But I did end up breaking out a little bit, and you can see up here I've got some little bumps, some little keratosis pilaris going on, some chicken skin, where I did break out as a result of the arm waxing. And if you keep your arms in direct sunlight after waxing, they can hyperpigment really easily. So I don't know if I would do that again, not because it was painful, but just because I don't need it. My arm hair is not that dark or thick, so I really don't feel the need to wax it that much. So, I mean, it was about a 3.5 out of 10. I don't think I would do it again though. Moving right along to the face. We did the upper lip and the brows on the same day. because it was the day before I went to BurlyCon in Seattle, so my instructor wanted to make sure that I had, you know, my brows and my whole face on fleek. She didn't want me to go there, you know, with the hair growth that you need for waxing, because you need to grow at least 10 days of hair out. So my brows were on another level. they were pretty out of control, and she didn't want me going to a gala with like bushy brows, so she went ahead and waxed them for me. This is what they look like now, and you can see on this one I don't really have any lid hair growing back, and then on this one, you probably can't see on camera, but I do have one hair right there that has grown back. The upper lip I never normally wax, because again, I do have some hair on the outside of my upper lip, but it's blonde, it's like practically white, it's like peach fuzz hair, so you can't really see it, so I never really worry about it. Upper lip, they wax in sections. So they wax this, then this, then this. So it's a maximum of 5 strips total. The upper lip, it didn't really so much hurt as it felt, there was a lot of pressure. Like it felt like pressure, like someone pushing on my skin. They used hard wax to do the upper lip, and hard wax can be pretty thick. So it was just sitting on my lip like this, and then when it got ripped off, it still felt like there was wax there. It was weird. It still felt like there was something sitting on my upper lip, even when there wasn't. I would put the pulls at maybe about a 3 or 3.5. Again, they smarted a little bit, but not too much. It was more pressure than pain, and the most painful part of my upper lip, without a doubt, was the Hitler mustache. That's a pretty sensitive area. You don't really get a lot of those kinds of sensations up there, so that was probably what hurt the most. But other than that, it was more like that strange sensation than anything. I don't think I would do that again either, just because, again, not because it was super painful or uncomfortable, it was just because I don't need it. So let's move on to the eyebrows. The eyebrows are by far one of the most common things that people get waxed, and they're a really detail-oriented area. So it usually involves multiple strips over a period of time. They divide the brow into 2 strips, one back here and one up here, and then, of course, one back here and one up here if you need it. And then they do either 1 or 2 strips for the unibrow. I do get a unibrow, so we did wax that, and the brows didn't really hurt much at all. I would put it at about a 2 out of 10. Yes, the pull does smart a little bit because, I mean, they're pulling your hair out. Of course, it's going to hurt a small bit, but I would even say it's easier to handle than plucking, because plucking hurts on me. Like, pulling my hair out with tweezers hurts like a bitch. I would happily get my brows waxed again. I've had it done before, and it was the only thing that I'd had waxed before up until this point. So I love getting my brows waxed. It's so much easier than tweezing. The hair grows back thinner and, you know, less, literally, and the more you go and get waxed, eventually the hair will stop growing entirely and you'll have fleeky brows all the time. And now the moment everyone's been waiting for, the full Brazilian. Now, there's a couple of different kind of modalities of the Brazilian. There's a couple of forms of intimate waxing, and I'll talk about, you know, quite a few of them. First, I got my bikini line waxed by students. The bikini line probably hurt worse than anything I've talked about so far, but only by a little bit. And it's just because, again, I've never been waxed down there. I had no experience with that, and my body is not accustomed to that sensation. And when you're getting your bikini line waxed, which is, you know, the line between your legs and your business, that is formed, that shows when you're wearing a bikini. So it was odd, like, because of the positions I had to be put in, I couldn't really fully relax my muscles. My muscles kind of had to be tensed up. First, they get your upper thighs kind of up the back, which involves you kind of lifting your knee and hugging it. Again, you know, when you do that, your muscles are tense, and when your muscles are tense, it's going to hurt more. And then they had to do what's called a butterfly position, which is basically taking your leg and moving it out to the side. And again, regardless, your muscles are going to be tensed up a little bit, it's going to hurt a little bit. I would put the bikini at the worst at about a 4 out of 10. So And again, these are very brief moments of pain. So it's just like, ah, and it's gone. So it was about a 4 out of 10, a little more intense than anything we've done so far. But again, the bikini is over so quickly. It's maybe a few strips and you're done. It took a grand total of maybe about 25 or 30 minutes. And I would probably do that again, just because shaving down there is a pain in the ass. So the full Brazilian. What everyone's been waiting for. I did act as a demonstration model for the full Brazilian wax in front of all of my classmates. So I'm going to talk about, one, the experience of getting a Brazilian wax, and two, the experience of getting a Brazilian wax in front of 5 of my classmates. The Brazilian, for those of you who don't know, is named after the bikinis that women wear in Brazil that leave very little to the imagination. They're basically thong bikinis. And so a full Brazilian, a true full Brazilian, is all of the hair removed from the happy trail right below your belly button all the way around the back to your butt crack. They started with the top of myself. So with the sort of like bikini, or the bikini line area up at the top with me just laying flat. And they started with kind of the mons area a little bit. And because she was demonstrating multiple iterations of intimate waxing, she demonstrated a bikini, a full bikini or a deep bikini, which is just taken in a little bit more, a French, which is the entirety of the top, you know, of like the mons pubis and the like, and the entirety of the butt crack, but with the labial hair left in place. And then she did the full Brazilian, which is everything taken off. So a full Brazilian, when you're just doing a Brazilian wax, when you're not demonstrating all those other things and talking through it, a full Brazilian usually takes about 45 minutes to an hour. So it's not really that much time, and honestly, a lot of it hurt less than I was expecting. I thought that I was going to be in pain the entire time. I thought it was going to be miserable, but you know, it's just one of those things that some spots are more sensitive than others. The closer you get to kind of the periclitoral area, if that makes any sense. So like the top, you know, the base of your mons just above where your clitoris is, probably hurt the most out of anything. That smarted. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That was like a 5.75 out of 10, pushing a 6. That hurt. But, you know, again, that area is maybe 2 or 3 strips, maybe 4 at the most, of these littler strips. So you feel it and then it's gone. And then you feel it and then it's gone. And then you feel it and then it's gone and then it's over. Like I said, I would put that at about a 5.75 out of 10. All the rest of it, though, was really about the same as a leg wax, about a 3. My body by then, because I had already had the bikini done once, my body was sort of used to that sensation, so that part hurt way less. And fun fact, the more often you get waxed, the less it hurts. The ass crack and the asshole, I thought that was gonna hurt so bad, but it didn't. Honestly, I hardly felt anything back there at all. The top of the ass crack did hurt a little bit. That was, you know, like a 3.5. But all the rest of it, it was honestly like a 2. I hardly felt anything at all. And, you know, the mons itself and the labial hair. The labial hair on me was quite a bit long, so it was a little bit more complicated to remove, but honestly, about a 3. About a 3. And so overall, if I had to average out the entire Brazilian wax as a whole, I would put it at about a 4 out of 10. Because at the least painful it was a 2, and at the most painful it was a 5.75. So I would put it at about a 3.5 or a 4. Again, it's sort of something that happens very quickly. If you're getting it done by a professional, which I was at the time, it's over very quickly. Is it a walk in the daisies? No, but it's over very quickly, and it's, you know, sharp pains that don't last a long time, which I know for me personally, I'm a lot more likely to be able to handle that better. If it's just like, pew, like ripping a Band-Aid off and you just feel that quick, and then it's gone, I can handle that a little bit better. Some people are different. Some people handle, you know, like a dull pain over a long period of time more easily. But it didn't really hurt that bad for me. And there's something magical about having no hair on your rear end. Would I get an entire full Brazilian again? I don't know. I mean, I would definitely have it done again. I might go with like a landing strip or something, or at least leave some hair there, just because having the full Brazilian is a little bit prepubescent to me. It's kind of creepy. But so I might leave like a landing strip or something, but I would definitely have that done again. I mean, it really wasn't that bad. So my advice would be take an ibuprofen and go to a good experienced waxer for something like that. The Brazilian is a very difficult wax because there's a lot of different hair directions going on. There's a lot of different stuff going on down there. So I would find an experienced waxer who knows what they're doing, who comes highly recommended, especially if you're going to go for the full Brazilian, because the more experienced your waxer is and the more prep you do beforehand, the better the experience is going to be. For me personally, my waxer who demonstrated the Brazilian on me, her name is Brihanna. She works at Doll Wax in Annapolis, I believe, and she was fantastic. She was really good. She, made sure I was okay. She checked in with me every now and again, and my classmates were kind of shocked to see how little pain I was showing, because it really wasn't that bad. Getting waxed in front of my entire class, on the other hand, that's another story entirely. And that's something I might devote to its own video, because that was just an interesting experience in and of itself. That's it. That's the rundown. That's every single body part that we learned how to wax, how it felt, would I do it again? And honestly, for the most part, the answer is yes. Waxing doesn't hurt as badly as you think it will. And waxing usually doesn't hurt unless you try to do it yourself. Because, I would highly recommend seeing a licensed esthetician to be waxed. We're trained, we know what we're doing, we know how to make it hurt less. So my best advice is, if you're interested in doing it, if you're interested in doing any of these waxes, pop an ibuprofen and get it done. Who knows? It'll probably hurt less than you think it will. And my best advice to get through it is, 1, take your painkiller beforehand. 2, relax. When you tense up and you anticipate that pain, it ends up hurting worse because your muscles end up tensing up, which kind of activates your sensory nerves a little bit more, and it ends up hurting more. So go into it not expecting anything, and just take each strip as it comes. So that's about it for me. That is my experience with waxing my entire body. If you guys have any questions for me at all about waxing, about pain level, if I missed something, leave your questions in the comments below. I will definitely get to them. I want people to know that this doesn't hurt as badly as people think it does, and eventually your hair does grow back thinner, and eventually it stops growing back altogether. I hope you guys found this video helpful, informative, or entertaining. If you did, there's a button for that. Spank that like button in the butt, you know it deserves it. And if you want to see more from me, you got a couple options now. You can click the videos on either side of my head to binge if you're bored or bummed out, or hey, you can hit that button that looks like my face and subscribe and become a member of the faithful today. I put out new videos every Sunday. Thank you guys so much for watching and joining me today, and I will see you in the next video. Toodles!